What is up, guys? Welcome on back to the news with TK. And just when you think the Epstein case can't get any more insane or weird, now they're coming out and there's multiple sources coming out saying that this guy was not just a CIA asset, but possibly being run by the Mossad. And when you look at it, it makes sense. Roll the intro. So welcome on back to the news with TK. Look, I have a couple of different clips for you here today, and we had to dig back in the vault for a couple of these, but this came out on the news here recently, and it would explain why maybe the government wants this to go away. Not because of culpability or they're worried about having to pay lawsuits or whatever, but it doesn't look good when your government or allies of your government are doing scumbag activity. And it looks like Jeffrey Epstein, either wittingly or unwittingly, was an Israeli asset. Not just an Israeli asset, but also for the CIA. Going back to, was it 1983? Or even before that, he was a money man, a front man, money-wise, for some of the Iran-Contra deals, like moving weapons and things of that nature. So seeing that, knowing that he already had ties to government, right? It's coming out that countries in the Middle East, and we don't know what countries those are, could have possibly been running Jeffrey Epstein and the entire operation with Epstein's Island and the plane as a honey pot type of operation. And if you don't know what that is, it's you lure people in, you get them to do scumbag stuff, whether it's with prostitutes or other things, and stuff that I can't even say on YouTube, and then you blackmail them. Let me roll this clip.
I think that the FBI is doing all they can. I believe that Cash and Dan have been honest about what they've seen. This new development this week from the Justice Department really is much more final than coming from the FBI, because the Justice Department would be the keeper of all the interagency traffic. I believe that the Jeffrey Epstein story is much more of a CIA story than an FBI one. The fact is it's almost impossible that the CIA would not have been keeping tabs on Jeffrey Epstein since at least 1983, when Jeffrey Epstein was the money fixer for the CIA's main point person in the Iran-Contra scandal. One of the things that's frustrated me, and I think millions of people in the country and maybe even around the world, is that this unsettled question about Alex Acosta's apparent statement that Jeffrey Epstein belonged to intelligence and was told to back off, followed by a statements at a public press conference that did not deny that he said that, and then a very, very tepid, shallow DOJ ethics investigation after that, which effectively did not ask him the question point blank, has left a gaping hole in the story here.
We spoke to Ari Ben Mashani, who is a former Israeli spy. He said on the record unequivocally that Jeffrey Epstein was working for Israeli intelligence operations, the Mossad, and running a classic honey trap operation. That is, lure people inside, record their activities and learn about their peccadillos and use it to blackmail them.
Now, we've seen all the recent stuff that's come out between Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino, and at this point, I feel like neither one of them should resign. But it's funny how Dan has come out and said, you know, hey, I've looked at everything in the file and I don't see there, right? But then he has clips like this on the internet where he's talked to an ace reporter, somebody that's in the know, somebody that never misses. And he says this.
A year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but well, the short story, but not who they are. It says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset. His plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. How do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right?
So to be honest with you, this is all absolutely insane. It really is. It is absolutely insane. Like when you think about it. But it also is one of the reasons why I think maybe the president now has seen all of the files or all of the things that go along with what went in this investigation. And if he is tied to U.S. intelligence and he is tied to Israeli intelligence, first of all, but my biggest question is, okay, if that's the case, and just so we can be clear here, when everybody's like, our government would never do that, just stop it. I can tell you as somebody that's worked in intelligence for 20 years, we're not always the good guys, okay? Does that mean it's a bad thing? No, you do what you have to do for your country, okay? That does not mean that you're always going to have the moral high ground. Just keeping it 100. Okay. I'm wondering is they dug deep enough into it and they found out that, oh no, he is tied to the CIA. He was running this operation and he was tied to the Mossad. They were running him on this operation. If the damage of that stuff coming out, and not just sources and methods, but the people that could have been associated with it, are why they want to bury the story now. Right? Because when you really look at it, it's funny how, Trump was so huge on, let's get this out, let's get this done. This guy's a scumbag, right? To, nah, why are we talking about this? That it's over, leave it, like, nah, I don't know. And then, and I have a separate video on that, but then, now we've had people, Wired Magazine did an article. We know that the video that was supposed to be raw that came from the federal government, the metadata shows that it's been edited and it has been changed. So we don't know if anybody was on that tier or went in there to deal with Jeffrey Epstein or not, outside of the minute that's missing, which has also still not been explained. I know Pam Bondi said that she was going to come out and show that this happens every evening. And she said that in the cabinet meeting, and nothing has happened. It's almost like, these are not the droids that you're looking for. This is not what you want to know about. That's literally what's going on right now. And I can get it when you don't want to be the government that's tied into human trafficking, assaults. And I'm having to say it like that because you can't even say these words on YouTube. It's bad. And I can understand why they want it to go away. But also, I feel like if there are people that are still in our government that partook in this, the same way they went after friends of mine and people that I know for enhanced interrogation techniques, and they had to have their careers destroyed and ruined. Yeah, I feel like, I'm sorry, guys, but if you partaken in minors being haunted or, trafficked, then no, You need to be known. And that's the thing that pisses me off when Alan Dershowitz comes out and says, oh no, we 100% know there is a client list for sure. We have it. And that's really funny how like the FBI didn't want to release file from the New York office, and then that person resigned. But then Bondi said there is no files. There was a truckload of files. Now there is no files. Ugh. It screams we were probably as a government involved, and we don't want to look bad. That's what it screams to me right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I think it's just a sucky situation all the way around. But give the video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, stay petty, my friends.